Babylonians invented the modern education system. Before the Babylonians, there was no formal education system. And this is a very big deal. Because the next instinct that we're going to talk about is play. And play, a lot of adults think play is stupid, it's for children, it's just for when you're playing tennis or whatever. Nonsense. Play is how we learn. In the same way that we explore in order to adapt, we avoid in order to protect, we play in order to learn. Homo sapiens sapiens was designed to learn through play and to learn through having fun. The reason why we have an impulse to have fun is to draw us towards play, which produces learning. We learn through discovery, through trying things out, through screwing it up and trying again and having fun. We don't learn through being taught things at school. If you think how long it takes somebody at school to get to their high school exams, and you think about how amazingly inventive and adaptable and curious the young mind is, it's criminal that we take 10 years, more than 10 years, to teach children basic stuff, basic facts. We should be able to do it in a couple of years. Anything can be taught through play. Einstein was taught that algebra is a hunt for a creature known as X, and when you catch it, it has to tell you its name. So for him, algebra was fun. This is why he could produce E equals mc squared with no problem. I was taught algebra in a very particular way. My method for algebra was to chew my pencil and frown and look like I was suffering, because then the teacher would come and work out the answer for me. It worked brilliantly well until I got to my exams, when it didn't work at all. And because I was taught in the Babylonian way, I hated everything I learned at school. It's a miracle I ever learned anything. I'll tell you what the Babylonians did. They're very smart, these Babylonians. They're dead, but they were very smart. They realized that the young mind learns through play, through independent inquiry, and they realized that if you're going to control a super tribe, a massive tribe, which we'd never had before in the human race, then you need a super elite class of scribes, of the literate people, who can brainwash everybody else into believing that the king is a god. This is why the Jews were so unpopular, because we said, he's just a guy in tights. And the guy in tights said, no, excuse me, I'm a god. And that was the only way to keep the tribe together. Now, how do you educate these scribes? How can you force a curious, independent, questioning, playful young mind to do exactly what you want it to do every single time? Well, the trick the Babylonians learned was this. They learned that if you can remove play and fun from the child's environment, and if you can remove love from the child's environment by taking the child away from his parents, then you can do anything you want, because you can start to give the child very, very small and specific symbols of love from the institution, from the super parent, in the form of grades and marks and gold stars and so on, prizes. And then the child's survival instincts, because there's only one thing more important than play to a child, and that's to be loved. Their survival instincts draw them like a mirage in the desert towards whichever behaviors you've told them they need to perform if they're going to get these little symbols of love. And so the Babylonians tricked us all into believing that love means getting 10 out of 10. We absolutely believe this. This is why at Oxford and Cambridge, they have the highest suicide rate of any British universities. The top universities have the highest suicide rates. It doesn't surprise me. In the Babylonian world, if you failed at school, in some city-states, your father would kill you. It takes a lot of mind control to get a father to kill his own son. So that's what the Babylonians did to all of us. It's pretty nasty. And we take it into our modern schools. We haven't really changed the education system much. The Babylonians used to hit them on the knuckles, on the hand, if they got something wrong. They'd hit them on the bum really hard. We still do it in Britain. We're very fond of doing this. And when in nature, when a child screws up and they make a mistake, they learn through blood. Now, what color do we mark children's school books in? Red ink. And what do we use this red ink to point out? We make blood-colored scratches on the child's work to show them where they went wrong. And we don't bother showing them where they went right. Why don't we use green ink and show them all the good things they did? I wrote a history essay, 5 pages long, and it was full of red ink. You got this date wrong, this was spelling wrong. There were a few good bits in it I didn't know, because the teacher didn't bother pointing out to me what I was doing right. And because the Babylonians were so successful at doing this, no civilization since then has changed it significantly. None of us. We all think we're doing the right thing. And the tragedy is that teachers really believe that they are developing young minds. They're not. And this is very relevant to the internet and to technology. We'll see why in a minute. But what happens at school when a teacher says, let's have some free thinking and free discussion, and they think that they're encouraging and promoting individual thought? What actually happens? Think about it. Well, the child suggests an idea. They suggest a yes and, a new speculation. And the teacher says, well, that's very interesting. Let's see what the rest of the class thinks. And they throw the idea to the class to pull it apart, tear it apart, and they tear apart the child's self-esteem at the same time. because in the institution of school, our self-image and self-esteem is so closely tied to our academic results and to what's in our intellectual, knowledgeable mind. And then at the end of this supervised gang rape, the teacher basically says, well, that was completely useless because when it comes to the exam, you're not going to be worthy of love unless you replicate the answer that's in the book. Now go and learn chapter 5 for Thursday, and if you have any more ideas of your own, we'll beat you up again on Thursday. Don't be late. This is what teachers tell children all the time. In the child's mind, there's a bit called, all of us actually, there's a bit called the hippocampus. It's very small, it's the size of a little nut. And it's where all of our emotional memories are created and stored and processed and recalled and recreated. And I learned from a neuroscientist who came to one of our workshops. He said in the child's mind, there's no difference between being told, well, Bobby got 10 out of 10 and you only got 9. There's no difference between being told that and being told Bobby is worthy of love and you're not. And we have this reinforced every single day until we go through university. Some people kill themselves at university. We get through university and we bring this Babylonian hallucination into the workplace. And this is why we avoid things instead of exploring things, because the Babylonians taught us to be terrified of screwing up. If you look at a baby chimpanzee climbing a tree, he falls out of the tree and he thinks it's hilarious. He's having so much fun. He gets straight back on, he falls off again. Back on, falls off again. He's having a physics lesson and he doesn't know it because he's just playing. And chimpanzee parents, every mammal parent understands this and they let their children play. They understand that being silly is really important for the infant because it expands the range of behavioral responses that are available to them and it increases their survival chances. And in the modern world, we say, well, you know, an elephant's not going to kill you, a tiger's not going to kill you. It's okay, we have buildings, you're safe, so you can do it our way. And they start marking your books in red and tell you where you're going wrong. And eventually, as an adult, you're operating at about 5% of your real potential. We could educate generations of geniuses if we did it slightly differently, if we really used the best practice from millions of years of evolution. But it's not all bad news. It's not all bad news because there are other instincts involved as well. I'll give you an example of one of them. If you want to just quickly turn to the person next to you and put your hand on their knee. Go on. Don't be scared. Turn to the person next to you and put your hand on their knee and look them in the eye and say, Those of you who are childish enough to do it will find that it's a very sweet experience. This is called social grooming. Social grooming is what keeps tribes together. It's what keeps tribes reproducing and growing. It's what keeps tribes surviving. It's what stops us from fighting each other. People say, oh, humans, we're very warlike. Well, we're not actually. There's 6 billion of us. And actually, the fact that most of us haven't killed each other shows how cooperative we are, what good groomers we are. Now, grooming is obvious. Social grooming is when chimpanzees pick little fleas out of each other's fur. When you help someone with a problem, you're giving them social grooming. When a stranger asks you the time and you tell them, it's social grooming. They've even done tests and they've shown that we get a rush of happy hormones in our body when we do something as small as telling a stranger the time when they ask us. So grooming is a wonderful instinct which basically keeps us alive. Even Hitler and Stalin, they couldn't stop people grooming. You can try and ban behavior. Of course, we all try and ban behavior. It doesn't work. We can try and punish behavior. It doesn't work. The only thing that punishment teaches is how to avoid punishment. It doesn't teach anything practical. So if Hitler and Stalin couldn't stop people from grooming each other, from risking their lives to help their loved ones, then companies can't do it either. And yet, even though grooming should, lots of anthropology, I'm not going to go into it now, grooming should take place for 40% of our working time in an office. In a working tribe, we should spend 40% of our day grooming, which means about 3.5 hours each day just having fun and playing and chatting and not talking about work. Now, this sounds ridiculous. If you're a manager, you're thinking, what, are you crazy? You tell me to pay my people half the time to do nothing? Actually, you already pay them half the time to do nothing. Because if you don't give them that 40%, they take it. And they don't realize they're taking it. It's natural, it's spontaneous. Nobody realizes what they're doing. They have a conversation around the water cooler. They Facebook their friends. They're going to have a cigarette break and it lasts a little bit too long. They have chats in the corridor. They have chats on the internal phone. They bitch about the boss. They bitch about the company, which is not really a very good way for them to point to their grooming behaviors. And this is all because companies refuse to accept that they're dealing with human beings. They're dealing with tribal systems.